Hello bookworms, welcome back to my channel. I hope you've been doing well. Today we have something different for our channel. We are doing an author interview. We have with us a new up-and-coming author whose first book has just been published. His name is Peter J. Black, and the title of his book is 21 Stories from the Z-Zone from the Sapien Overlords universe. He has had his works published before in magazines and collections, both fiction and academic, but this is his first full-fledged book, so we have decided to have a bit of an interview and a conversation about it. Peter, it's great to have you on the channel, and congratulations on the book.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here. And honestly, you're the one I have to thank for all of this happening today. Not just the Zoom meeting and stuff. It's just, the whole thing about publishing, because that's the idea we had so
Yeah,
many
a
years
while ago,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And we always say like, oh, we're gonna publish and we're not. And then, so it's finally great to actually do something as in actually publishing it, even though there is a lot of work to be done, but hey, it's something fun, something interesting to do. And I chose this date specifically because, I like to have fun with dates and I find symbolism in them. So it's, at least in America, it's 2-1-21, and I have 21 stories. So that
Oh,
kind of
well,
has some kind of symbolism to it. Yeah.
I didn't even notice that you're 21. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
Wow.
because you're still in Europe and we do things differently here. I don't know why, but yeah,
No,
anyway,
actually,
it's fun.
actually, my Windows is basically in on the counts as American because it's in English. So actually, I have the
Oh,
same date
oh,
as
that's
you.
cool.
Yeah,
So yeah,
awesome.
that's pretty fun. So that's why I chose this date, and yeah, it's
That's
pretty
great. That's
nice.
great.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Peter, before we start discussing your book and the expanded universe it is set in, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself so the people, the audience, can know a little bit about you, just in short?
Oh, well, thank you so much for that. Yeah, basically there is a very nice introduction on my website sapienoverlords.com that talks about me. But yeah,
We will,
I
we
always
will,
like to
we
say,
will put that in the
yeah,
descriptions, of
we
course.
can put
Everything,
it in the
all the
description.
links are going to be in the description. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, basically, I like to say that I was born in a country that no longer exists, a place nestled between the East and the West at the time these two notions were widely used. I mean, these notions are still used, but I just like to talk from some kind of really futuristic perspective and, like, oh, this guy was there. Not in a depressive sense, it's sort of in an optimistic one. I was, struggling to choose the side, everyone was choosing, oh, either this or that. And, in the region where I grew up in, there were a lot of conflicts and everything. So I found it difficult to choose a side in general. And then, all of these things, made me think, hey, maybe I should try to find my own way, which I did, and during my studies, I tried to explore and learn more about the world and everything. So uh, I even pursued academic career. I still didn't give up on having an academic career just yet. I'm still doing research. Currently, I'm doing research on beer. I'm not sure that's a lot of fun, but
I
yeah,
know.
it is. And so both practical and theoretical research,
Yeah.
just to be sure.
A little bit more practical than theoretical, right?
A little bit more practical, yeah, and it's pretty nice. But I also decided, it is high time to actually have some of the stories published. And the reason why, I guess the reason why everyone writes is that they have some message, something to share. And I'm not sure what other authors do, but for me, I just have this, message. So
Hmm.
writing itself is okay. I have this idea, and the ideas are very similar, to some people commented that they are very similar to the ideas of the Twilight Zone and stuff like that, which
I
does
can
make
see that.
sense,
I can see that. Yeah,
Yeah,
a
'cause
little bit of that. Yeah.
a little bit of that, just the writing style is a little bit different, but the ideas are there. They just seem so very unusual and how would I say, out of the ordinary. Some
Hmm.
of them might actually be horror stories, but they're not. They're just a little bit scary
It's
sometimes. And
more
yeah.
psychological, if you want to say
Yeah,
horror
yeah,
stories, like
psychological
more,
and
at
philosophical
least
in a
like
certain
a
sense.
few of them that I've read. Yeah.
Yeah,
Would be
yeah, yeah.
more like that. Yeah.
They definitely examine, the psychological states of the characters, and basically, I believe what I wanted to do is explore different future possibilities. So a lot of my stories are speculative sci-fi. So
Hmm.
they are, they are possible, but as I wrote in the introduction to my book, they're not as probable. So
Hmm.
they could happen, so really, but most of them I wish probably don't happen.
Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
yeah.
like a couple of them that I've
Oh yes,
noticed. Yeah,
some of them
are
are really
a
really dark.
little
So
bit.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I guess they just all it all stems from my idea, my desire to just sort of write something like that, and the state I was in during the time when I was
Hmm.
writing that. But yeah, it's pretty fun. So yeah, when it comes to this collection itself, it's just bundled together all three, how would I say, I wouldn't say periods, but we can just call them periods. So the first period is before the greatest war, which is funny and ironic, and I like to use how would I say? Oftentimes my stories are very cynical, and
Hmm.
I understand a lot of people don't like it, but for me, it's fun sometimes if it's not too much.
No,
Uh,
I think people like
yeah.
cynical.
So the greatest war, not because it
Hmm.
was the greatest war because it was so great, but because it was the most terrible war ever happened, and because historians are terrible at naming wars.
I mean,
I,
people
yeah,
called the Greatest War,
it
like
was
the
the
World
inspiration.
War
Yeah.
One. They called it the Great War or Greatest War, I guess.
Yeah,
So
that was definitely the inspiration for it, and all the struggles. But I didn't write about the war itself. It was just an event that sort of made it,
it's
made a
basically
reset.
a piece of history in your world because like there's not a lot of, at least
Mm,
from what I've seen, there's not a lot of uh, stories that were
stories.
set in that time, but like after that period,
Oh
right?
yes, yes, that's true. There are some, and
Ah, there are.
mainly
Okay,
those
maybe
stories. Yeah, there
I
are some
haven't
that
read
most.
those.
Yeah, so let's say there are some that describe events just before the Greatest War and during the war and just after it. So they're like, in this one, let's say, I guess 5 or 6 of them, but they are, they're just
Ah, okay.
describing the events before and after. So I couldn't say that my stories are set, at least those stories are set in
Aha,
one
it's kind of
specific time frame. They
like
just,
the story, for example, the story on the road might be
oh
like
yeah.
sometime after the war,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Okay,
definitely.
okay,
That's
okay.
the
I
that,
can
that
see
one
that.
is
I can see that.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that's good. But we have this one about Auto Brewery that I really like. It's fun and it's scary at the same time because it actually exists.
I really want
Uh,
to read that one. That
oh,
sounds great, but I haven't started that one yet. Yeah.
and basically Yawnrus, which is a yawn virus, and I don't know why no one thought of that. I hope no one thinks of that to do it in
Don't
real life.
don't don't
Please don't do
don't tell me
that. So
about it now. I'm gonna start.
so it's a little bit so yeah, those are just kind of interesting, and that's why like they're a little bit spooky, they're a little bit creepy, but in general I just like to make people think about different things, and I like to make myself think about different things from different angles, so
Hmm.
like sure, we have all of us have different approaches to things, but I just like to be sometime, let's say, a little bit out of the box approach. And yeah, that's about it. So the majority of stories does indeed focus on the how to say, on the world that has risen after this greatest war, after this greatest catastrophe, which is the world of sapient overlords, where for many reasons that I won't mention here, that are well, not in this book solely, but in many other books,
Hmm.
humanity actually had to change the definition of what humanity is. Okay, so it's not just Homo sapiens at a certain point because of the development of AI, and
Hmm.
actually a lot of the factors that I had there are really truthful in what the scientists are telling us today. So not just the improvement of AI, but also the because of the reduced fertility and many other factors, humanity just sort of had to, or decided to, expand a little bit the definition of what it meant to be human. So one of the first issues I wanted to deal with when I started writing this whole universe was the issue that's not so easy to describe, and the issue that I may not know much about. I mean, I did study about it throughout, you know, during my studies, and now when I'm here in the United States by talking with people, and it's the issue of racism. And
Hmm.
in my opinion, or at least in in the author's opinion, um, racism as we define it today is, I think, a wrong definition, because we're all the same race. Okay, so you
Okay,
cannot
okay,
just.
yeah,
I know. I know.
I get
So
what you mean. Yes.
basically, I wanted. Yeah, it's a little bit. I like to take things literally, but I'm not a kleptomaniac. I just like to understand things literally. So it what we have today is just stupidity. It's not race. I mean, yes, it is racism. We define it as that, but the real yeah, it's silly if I say the real racism. So it is the real racism that we have today, but
I
in the future,
I know
yeah,
what you want to
it's
say.
tricky.
Like it's
It's
basically
tricky
it's
when you
basically
yeah,
racism as we see
on the
it is
biological
kind of
level.
it's kind
Yeah,
of like more of a mental concept than anything.
exactly. Yeah.
More of
So what
like mental or social or
construct indeed?
other like that kind of construct.
Hmm.
It's not actually something that you actually
It's not
perceive.
based on
Yeah.
on biology. So
Yeah,
what I was thinking
that's
of,
why like sorry to interrupt you, but that's why
yeah.
like I've been reading like this book
Mm,
series. It's more like fantasy type of books.
mm,
It's by Brandon Sanderson. It's called the
mm,
Stormlight Archives,
mm,
and in this world,
mm.
they have like this type of system that's kind of like depends on not on race but on eye color. So people can be like dark skin, white skin, whatever, but their actual class system depends on if you have like bright eyes or dark eyes. So if you have blue
Oh,
eyes or green eyes or violet eyes, then you're usually nobility or high ranking. Or if you have dark eyes, you're like the poor and something like that. So it's kind of like a similar thing.
mm.
It's pretty arbitrary how we differentiate people
Yeah.
from one another. Like
And when you think about it
in
throughout,
countries that are
yes.
much more homogenous,
Mhm.
you have very small differences that people uh, really look down on. Even not even connected to
Mm.
race, but maybe even connected to geographical origin. Like if you live in a certain area and speak in a certain way, then
Mm.
you're perceived to be less than the people who you know, speak in
That's
the
true.
more
That's true.
standard way
That's
or
what I was
something,
thinking about. I
right?
was going to, reading. I like history, and a lot of my inspiration, like for many other authors, derives from historical facts and from some other historical events.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, throughout history, the definition of what a human was changed a lot. Even in ancient Greece, where they explored, where they accepted everything human. Athenians were only humans, or maybe whatever Spartans or whatever, but the rest were barbarians and less than humans, and that was the rule for most ancient civilizations, as
Mm-hmm.
far as we
Mm-hmm.
know. I cannot say how it was because I wasn't there. And then throughout history, this gradually changed, and we have the classes, and then finally the races and everything. And today, we accept that we are all humans, which is, from the biological standpoint, very correct. Okay, so I was thinking, what if in the future, uh, for all those reasons that I mentioned before, humanity, or actually Homo sapiens, was joined by other extinct relatives,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
who are uplifted. Just to be clear,
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so what if we had Neanderthals today that have the same mental capacity as modern Homo sapiens? Wouldn't they be considered humans? And even if they didn't, that story that idea was actually explored in one of the Isaac Asimov's books.
Oh,
Okay,
really?
yeah,
Which one?
remember the one with the Neanderthal kid?
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember. What's the
and
name?
that was
Little boy or something like that.
something like that. I
I
forgot. I'm
remember.
sorry. I'm
Remember
so
that
sorry. I
the
forgot.
book. The book. There's a short story and there's like a longer book. Yeah, I
Oh
remember.
yes, so I think yeah,
Ugly little boy, maybe
yeah,
something like
it
that.
was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
And
good story. Yeah,
you should read. Yeah, you should read the extended what I read,
the
both
novel.
the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
extended
I
one.
haven't read the
Oh, the
novel yet. Yeah.
novel. Wow. So it was one of the two inspirations. The second one, actually, the first one and the main inspiration for me, was the book by Noel Yuval Harari, which is
Mm-hmm.
the *Sapiens: Brief History of Mankind*. And that sort of got me interested in how humans lived and how humans could live in the future. Although I didn't read the second part of the book, Homo Deus, that he wrote, so I'll be honest with you, I should read it, but I decided to base my own future off of those things that he wrote in the past. So basically, in this, how would I say, future that I assumed would happen, there are four human species living together. So we have Homo sapiens, we have Homo neanderthals, we have Denisovans and Floresians. And as much as I tried, and I really am a huge fan of Star Trek and everything, and as much as I tried to create this xenophilic society, and everyone is ideal, and everyone will try to forget their old worries and their old struggles, this world that sort of rose from the ashes of the old world, which is the world of today, didn't quite go different ways. So once again, the history repeats itself, and we have the same issues, the same problems, and that's what the first novel deals with,
Mm-hmm.
the one that I still haven't published. So these are just a series of short stories, and that's how it originated actually. And then I tried to expand it, adding all of the different elements and everything else. So it is pretty interesting, just from that viewpoint. I just like to have a different viewpoint from, from what is, I guess, considered usual or common. And from then on it develops and it changes, and I like the fact that I tried to give different opinions and different approaches of that world that was created, the world of sapient overlords, which is self-explanatory indeed. And from one side, if you view it as a sapient, it's not that bad. It's actually pretty good for. But from the other side, if you view it as an outcast or a
Yeah,
person living
yeah.
in the oblivion, which I called, basically nature, because it was destroyed mostly due to the war, um, and everything else that's happening even today. I was just imagining, people who are living on the fringes of society and who actually live outside of society don't actually, how would I say, feel so happy about it, or actually they don't approve of it. And they have very good reasons not to, as in a lot of people today who are struggling as well. So I try to offer these how would I say, these different opinions about what could happen. And then, let's say 2 or 3 years ago, I was also thinking about what could happen in the future when this futuristic human society, one world government, resolves its issues and somehow decides to prosper. What could happen and how could it proceed to, I wouldn't say colonizing the universe, just expanding, which is nice,
Mm-hmm.
which I definitely think should happen, with humanity. And that's what the rest of the stories are. Let's say I guess the last three stories in
Mm-hmm.
this
So
novel, at least chronological.
is there any chronological any order that we should be reading the stories? Because
Oh yes,
I think
it's
I
it's
was
on the
reading
website.
quite out of order probably. I was
Uh,
reading like probably the ones that caught my eye. I was just reading those.
I also wrote that in the introduction that there is
Mm-hmm.
no particular order in which to read these stories, as
Mm-hmm.
they are independent works of art, and the representation below. So I made a representation of the chronological order. So you can read them in a chronological order, but
It's not
it wouldn't
necessary.
make it's not really
Okay,
necessary.
okay,
So
that's
there are
good.
some of the stories that are connected, and you can see references from other stories in these stories, like about
Mm-hmm.
the greatest war, the old world, and etc. etc. The zone system, the Z zone. Even I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Is it Z zone or zone? I don't know. It's nice
I
in
don't
any
know. Like
case.
you're the author.
I'm the author. I just made up.
you can
So
set the the precedent.
so I
Uh,
I can indeed. So yeah, and
going off
yes.
of that, now that you mentioned that, I had a question here. Let me find it
Mm,
quickly. So I was wondering, since this is, like as you said, a part of a larger series of novels. I know that you have at least two of the novels, or maybe three. You have
Actually, I
first
have
drafts
four.
of, or four maybe, yeah. So are some of the stories going to be some of the stories from this collection of stories, are they
Mm.
going to be more closely connected to the plot of the novels, or should we view them mostly as separate? Only
Uh,
they just only exist in the same universe, or is it going to be like somehow tied into some of the novels or some of
that's
the
a really
stories?
good question. Originally, I planned them all to be independent and separate,
Mm-hmm.
okay, which is what I did. And you can have references here and there about the events
Mm-hmm.
happening, about, for example, oh, there was this yawn virus that killed a lot of people and caused the end of the world. Spoiler alert. But
Too
uh,
late. Okay.
but never mind. But other than that, there were not many, how would I say, many references to the novels themselves. And novels themselves also function as independent works of art. I mean, there are two novels that I found connected, but I'm not still sure
Mm-hmm.
whether I will publish them as two different novels or just one big novel.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because
Yeah, I guess you
it's still,
gotta work
yeah,
that out in the
I
editing.
have to worry about it later.
Yeah.
When I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But then there were some stories that I wrote when I moved here to Vegas, that are indeed related to the city itself, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
my original understanding of it, or the futuristic chaotic version of it. So I try to do that, but I'm not sure. There are some stories that you can get references to in the novels, but they just mainly use to explain the details, like in the detail or some events that you might be interested in. And that's what I always like to know. I read a novel like, oh my God, I want to know what this event was, who caused it, what caused it. That's how I was when I was reading, when I read a book. That's what I always like to do. So yeah, that's about it. In general, you can read everything
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
independently. No worries. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Just I was just wondering that, and I already had that question prepared, so
Mhm.
I took the opportunity to ask it. I have a question, a little bit more longer question, so let me try to read it. I have already read a few of the stories from the collection, and I noticed that each of them revolves around a different societal, psychological, or even existential topic, which
Mhm.
is kind of embedded in this dystopian, futuristic,
Mhm.
post-apocalyptic setting, but it seems kind of quite relevant to the issues of today. So, did you plan the stories around these ideas when you started writing them, or was it more like just an idea for a story and then you kind of tie that into your into the topics, into those relevant issues, or how did you decide what to write? Yeah, that's kind of I was wondering that actually
Oh,
when I was reading.
that's a
Mm-hmm.
pretty good question. I'll be honest with
Mm-hmm.
you, and I would like to say that I was more organized, that I had, intention. Oh, I'm going to write about this issue today. So yeah, as I told you earlier, I just have these ideas,
Mm-hmm.
and then I see, okay, I have this idea, and I think, wow, okay, let me see how this could be connected with the world of today. Because as a writer, like most, and I think all writers do,
Yeah,
we can try to disassociate ourselves from the world of today, but we are still pulling all our experiences and all our relations to the world of tomorrow from the world of today, from the world we
exactly.
live in. So it's everything we write is in a way a criticism of the world of today. And a lot of my stories, and I think, a lot of my novels will include those. Mainly, I think, my one of my major concerns is this sort of ecological issue that we have today.
Mm-hmm. Of
It's one of
course,
the
yeah. There
biggest
is
ones.
there is a few stories that
Oh yeah,
talk
so
about
and
that.
and
Yeah.
oh yeah, so and that first novel that I mentioned you that I still haven't published, that had a lot of trash, literal trash in it. So so that was the scary one, the scary future that is very, very probable and likely to happen. So that's why I said I don't want my stories to actually happen. And yeah, indeed, all of those relevant issues I try to deal with today, and there, so from time to time I notice that, my stories focus on just one thing, for example, let's say Olympus Hill, which chronologically is the first one,
Mm-hmm.
let's say from this story, it does talk about pride and vanity a lot. And it does, but not in the sense you would expect it to. And it was also surprising for me how the story ended up being. But yeah, the people who had great ideas, often end up not so great. So yeah, a lot of these, psychological issues and I guess the ways of thinking of ordinary people are placed here. So yeah, that's what I
Mm.
like to do. Mm.
Yeah, I noticed now that you mentioned that. I noticed that like your endings tend to not be really like very satisfactory often, and they're
Yeah,
pretty they're
that's
pretty
true.
open ended. So it's not like when you write the story you don't really give any specific value judgment or any moral of the story or anything like that. You just pose some questions and then like you let the
Mm.
reader think about it and like basically work it out by themselves and ponder these questions. So
That's mhm.
at least that's what I've noticed in the in the stories that I've read, and I really like that. Do you think that authors should actually give some specific moral stance or really strong moral of a story, or is that like on purpose, that kind of thing that you did?
uh, that's a pretty good
Mm-hmm.
question. I'll be and thank you so much for noticing that. So I don't necessarily have any standpoint that I want to. I certainly
Mm-hmm.
have my own, but the more I read, the more I learn about the world.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can change as well. One of the reasons why I don't like giving some conclusions or telling people like, hey, you should act like this, you should do this, you should do that, is because of one of my favorite things in the universe, and that's called entropy.
Mm-hmm.
And entropy, just for people who don't know, just so it is just the lack of order or predictability and the gradual decline into disorder of everything. So I like entropy. And where was I going with this? I'm joking. Yeah, it is. Yeah, basically, I can put my own value judgments, but that's not the whole point. My whole point was, I had this idea, and some of these things could actually be developed to be used for good purposes. For example,
Mm-hmm.
splitting the atom was a nice idea. I'm not saying that my ideas are like splitting the atom, far from it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
but
saying that,
I know what you mean.
but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, we have good ideas, and we choose whether we can use them for good or for bad. In these
Mm-hmm.
stories, they started off being used for good, but they also ended up being used for bad. So if this can inspire some, let's say, future scientists, say like, hey, this is a good idea, let's do this, let's try to solve the problem that way, that's good. Because when I was younger, I wanted to be a scientist, I wanted to be a researcher, and in a way I still am, as I told you,
Mm-hmm.
earlier, that I do, but it's not a very, how to say, world
That's a
shattering.
super important area of research. I get it. Yeah.
Exactly, it is important for me, and
But
I like it,
yeah,
but
yeah,
for the world, it's not something revolutionary or world changing. But I just, I'd like to think, that there will be someone who will find inspiration in stories like, hey, I can do this, I can connect this with something else and make something good out of it. So that is what I think is the value of this story, just to find something good that you can take out from it, and just like, hey, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make the world a better place, even though it is what it is, and it will always be what it is and what it was. And yeah, we are ending up running in circles now.
awesome.
Sorry.
No, no, it's fine. It's fine. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So I had one more question on a bit of a different topic. I know you are quite a new author, and you might be like not so experienced in publishing. But I was wondering if you have any advice that you can share with people who are interested in self-publishing, but have not yet taken even the first step, like somebody like me or some other
Oh,
people that might be listening to this interview.
okay. Thank you so much for
Mm-hmm.
asking me, and I'm glad that we decided to focus on this part as well. Uh, to be honest, it took me years to finally decide to, you know, self-publish,
Mm-hmm.
and as we all know, it takes a lot of work, and everyone is a critic today, and that's good, But what's important to understand is that you cannot please everyone
Mm-hmm.
eventually. Um, so my suggestion is like, do what you have. If you feel like it's good enough, publish it.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually thinking of doing, another round of critics before I publish these stories. And to be honest, they might not actually even be finished. But a story is never over. You can always correct it. And I decided, okay, let me stop there. I'm going to publish them. I'm going to do
Yeah, I
something
note
new.
I
So,
noticed a few typos in your stories, so you'll
oh
have to.
yeah, like there,
I'll
there
give you some
uh,
feedback on that, so you can
it's
like
okay. But
fix it
for
in.
me, it
You
was
can fix it
important.
in the ebook, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Good.
I
Good.
actually
So you'll.
fixed some of the stuff
Mm-hmm,
after the last time we spoke. So
mm-hmm,
that's pretty cool. What I'm trying to say is that it will never be perfect.
mm-hmm,
Entropy once again. So I'm not saying that you should rush into publishing. Let's say, okay, oh, I have this thing, I'm gonna publish it. No, not necessarily. But you shouldn't wait too long as well.
yeah.
Because I know a lot of people who have written a lot, and not just you. I know you, and your writing is on a far superior
Yeah.
level than my own.
More or less.
But
No, I don't. I don't think
it
so.
is.
I don't think so.
I'm trying to tell about the style of
I
writing.
think
I have ideas.
I think these stories are really good. I think
Oh,
you
they
are some of your
they have
best
good
work so
ideas.
far. Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Mm-hmm,
Indeed, some of them are, and I'm not saying I have favorites, but some of them are. But once again, I focus on the ideas. So a lot of people could say, and I personally could say, that my style of writing is sort of okay. It's not the best one that I like, and there is still place for improvement when it comes to that. But you, on the other side, you have an amazing style. For you, it's like reading, one of my favorite writers, and I like that.
Okay, let's
I'll,
not talk
I'll
about
stop.
me.
I'll
It's
stop.
not.
Okay, let's not talk
This
about
is
it.
about you
So
now.
my suggestion is definitely, after a certain while, after you gave it,
Hmm.
let's say, uh, the first read, and then beta readers, and then alpha readers. So after two or three criticisms, and then you think like, okay, that's good enough. Go and publish it. You can do it yourself, like I did, and it didn't cost me anything. So
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty nice. Also, I'm actually thinking of. I mean, I'm going to sell these books. This book is on sale on
Yeah, of
Amazon. That's
course.
true,
Okay,
but I'm
actually,
just
thank you for reminding me.
yeah,
Actually, let's say that, and I'm gonna
yeah.
probably say have a short clip at the beginning about this.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
these books. So this Peter's book, 21 Stories from the Z Zone, is available on Amazon. It's available in paperback, although a bit of a limited number of books, I think. And it's available on ebook if you want to buy it. So we will of course leave the links prominently in the description below, so please check them out. And if you're interested in any of these stories, you can even check out individual stories from the Peter's book, because you can buy each story individually. So if you like any of the story's premises, you can just buy one, read the story, and then decide if you want to buy the whole series
Mm,
or the whole collection. So yeah,
mm.
sorry, just wanted to say that so
Yeah,
we don't forget.
it's okay.
Hmm.
Just a small correction. I don't think Amazon has a limit. I'm not saying that
Does it?
that my
Oh,
book
it
will be
doesn't
popular.
really.
It doesn't. So it has a limit on how many author
But
copies you can buy and the printed proof copies that you
okay.
want to buy. But
I
if I
thought
wanted to buy, yeah.
you decided how many books you print, and then you tell them and they print, and then
Ah,
they send
no, they
those
can do
only
it.
those books
It's on
that were
demand.
printed.
I think it's on demand, and
Ah,
that's a really good thing
interesting.
about
I didn't
Amazon.
know
So
that. Uh-huh.
yeah, it's pretty cool because KDP,
Mm-hmm.
Kindle Direct Publishing,
Mm-hmm.
actually allows you all of these things, to arrange everything and to make it for free. I even made a cover on their website for free.
Oh, really?
I'm not
Uh-huh.
saying it's great. Yeah, I just
No, no,
had a
I like
photo
the
and
cover. The cover is good. I like the cover. Yeah.
yeah, it just makes you think about everything, and I always like those photos. What does it mean to be human and stuff like that. So you can do all of these things on their website for free,
Mm-hmm.
and that's amazing. I'm not saying that other services are not good. If you have money to
Yeah.
invest in a book and you think you have a good product, definitely do it. Like go to
But I
Barnes and
guess
Nobles or
like for
whatever,
somebody who
whoever's.
is like a beginner author such as yourself and
Yeah.
some other people, this might be like a good start. Although
Oh yeah.
it probably won't get you
Oh, I hope I
a
don't
lot of
earn a lot of
money.
money. So don't buy them. I'm joking. Yeah, basically I would have to pay a lot of taxes, and Amazon takes a lot of your profits. So yeah, for
So
me
yeah.
this was just a testing. I just want to
Hmm.
try out a new thing to see how it works and everything. So actually I decided to give some out to my friends here.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm going to do that. So that's why I
Am I
want to
getting
order.
a copy?
Uh, yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the
I'm joking.
post will lose
I'm
it. No,
joking.
I,
Yeah,
I will
don't.
send you one, but
It's
I
too
think
far.
that the post will
Don't
lose
send
it.
me. I'm joking. I'm joking. Yeah, yeah. It's
They
too.
lose it anyway. So what I wanted to say was that it's pretty nice for beginners. It's nice.
Hmm.
I think I could have done a better job at advertising it, but I have one job, I have another job, and I have a lot of things to do. So if you want to focus, just first make sure that you have the thing ready,
A good
meaning either
product
stores
and
a good product,
well.
and then advertise it well if you
Hmm.
want to make sales out of it. I'm not planning to become rich or successful writer.
I understand.
I'm
Yeah.
just doing it because I have these ideas and I want to, share them with the world.
Of
But
course.
if you
Yeah.
have plans to actually do this professionally, then definitely make sure you have stories set up very nicely. You can use a lot of programs to help you, like when it comes to grammar and other suggestions. You can use Grammarly and other apps that can be very useful. And of course, when it comes to advertising, I have some suggestions here that I could suggest you right now, and
Okay.
that's good.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, let's know.
you can send it to me, and I'll leave that in the
Yeah,
description
you
as
you
well.
can leave the links definitely below. So for example, for the photos, I used Zoho, which is
Mm-hmm.
no, Zoho is for a different one. Zoho is for advertising. Sorry, I used Canva for photos, and I
Uh-huh.
used Zoho for advertising. So
I
I
know
mean, you
actually
have
I use
billions of
Canva
these.
for thumbnails for YouTube, so
Yeah,
I
you
use
see
that
that
one.
that's
Yeah.
and those are simple program apps that don't cost a lot of money, but you have a lot of them. I'm not saying you should use these, like, no, I'm just saying find what you like and use it. But you should need something, if you don't want to pay someone extra, or if you don't have money,
Mm-hmm.
like most of us, to pay someone to do your advertising, you can do it yourself. It's not as difficult. It's pretty, straightforward once you get the hang of it. Even, in the end, you can do the print stuff. You can have, I mean, all of these other things. You can make your own shop and everything if you're popular. And I have apps for that as well, but I don't need it for now because I don't plan, at least at this moment, to do that. So yeah, it's pretty nice, just do your advertising right. And I've met a lot of people who do that, and I just feel like today, don't get me wrong, I think everyone should have the right to publish
Of course.
and but and have their stories heard. But I just feel like we are being overwhelmed with this,
A
stories and
little
everything and
bit,
all,
yes,
and
yes.
it's
Uh-huh.
pushing, like every 3 months you should publish a new book. And I'm saying, just you don't have the time to read everything that you like, to listen to every. So I'm not saying, a lot of that is not good quality. I don't know. I didn't read it or listen to it.
I've
I don't
seen
know.
some
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
good, interesting stories that are self-published. Some of
yeah,
them may not be the most polished things that I've ever read,
yeah,
and they might have some. I've done some reviews of some books that were
yeah.
self-published, and like I loved it. I loved some of those books, but they had quite a lot of problems because they were not professionally edited, and
That's true.
that can be a problem. But I think that other than typos and stuff like that, your story collection really is doesn't suffer a lot from that.
That's
So
true because I
I
wrote
guess
short stories.
short
I have
stories
problems with my
are a little
novels.
bit different. Yeah, yeah.
That's why I haven't
Hmm.
published my novels yet. But yeah, I get it. I definitely am thinking of doing that, and it's a really right step for people, and it just gives you, sort of little thing that you can brag about, like say, hey, I published a book. I'm just joking.
Like
It's like when I started
picking up
making my own
girls
beer.
at the bar. Like, I'm a
Like say,
published
have
author of science
yeah, I
fiction.
mean stuff like,
That's
but
sexy.
it, or there is one actually when it comes to it, I just really wanted to do one thing, and I saw it in a video somewhere. I don't remember when. Maybe it was a joke or something. So so there are two people sitting in an airplane, okay,
Hmm.
and a guy is reading a book, and then on the other side there is a woman, and she's like asking him like, oh, I read this book. Who is the author? And then he turns the page, he turns the cover on the other side and says, I
Why is he
am.
reading his own book though?
I know I want to do that. I actually feel like in a few years, if I forget this,
that would be a little bit douchey though. Like it's
I
kind
know.
of like the actor who shows his picture from the movie or something like that. Yeah.
But
Oh,
it's kind of like that.
actually, Weird Al
Why-
Yankovic did that when
Yeah.
he appeared in Naked Gun, I think, or some
Mhm.
comedy movie, and then
Uh-huh.
he would take dates to see that movie, and then he would say, "Oh, look at that's me," or something.
Yeah, so I guess I'm also a little bit weird as well. But yeah, that's nice. That's good. I support that. And yeah, it is a sort of a thing that for that reason. And once again, I'm saying this is it all depends on what you want. If you want to be a professional author, then definitely you need to invest some money. And I'm not saying you should take some courses, but
Hmm.
definitely, you can go browse through, and if you can learn to do your own advertising, that could save you a lot of money. And just, you have to
Of
find
course,
connections for all of that.
getting accepted by a big time publisher would probably be the best
Yeah.
option because that would probably give you a whole team to for marketing and for
But
everything
then they
else.
would force you to like, oh, you have to
But yeah,
publish a book in
yeah.
a year or something like. I'm just doing this
I
because
mean,
I love
if you're
writing.
Stephen King, that doesn't matter. He already
Oh yeah,
writes
if you're
like
Stephen King, he
he
writes a
writes
lot of
a
novels. I know.
lot. But
And they're not that
if
bad.
you're a
That's really good.
professional
He doesn't.
procrastinator like I am, that would be a problem, I think.
But I can bet that even in this moment you have a lot of. You could publish a collection of short stories or something.
I
I bet.
wouldn't. No, not really. I
You're
have a lot
joking.
of beginnings of novels, but I don't have a lot of short
That's
stories.
how
Yeah.
I ended up having stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm joking, but yeah, definitely. And now recently I've become fearful of the fact that, I start a story and I think like, wow, okay, this could be developed into a novel. And then I said, okay, and then I stopped writing it. So there
Hmm.
was this case with a story, I think 2 months ago that I started
Hmm.
thinking about it, which deals with this, latest period in the development
Hmm.
of the, I don't know, you can
That's
call it
not in the
whether
collection.
human.
That's
It's
a
not, it's not definitely,
another
but
story. Uh-huh.
it sort of deals with it, it deals with this later period where humanity started expanding and how they're going to colonize the universe and stuff. And I just said, okay, and I started writing and I think, wow, this is pretty good. And I continued writing, and then I got around somewhere around 4,000 words and everything else. Oh, well, this could be a novel. And that's when I stopped writing it. Okay, that's the problem. And I think a lot of people
Hmm.
face that,
Hmm.
feel the pressure of doing something. And the problem is the way I started it, I know that I cannot end it up, you know, in at least, let's say, 10,000 or 12,000 words less. which would sort of still be technically a short story or a
Mm-hmm.
novelette or whatever you want to call it.
Novella or something like
No,
that, I
yeah,
guess.
novella. Yeah, I think
I
novella is
mean,
over 20,000. I'm not sure, but yeah,
but basically, that's not also a bad idea for like a
it's not. It's
first
not. It's
like
a good try.
write a
Exactly.
novella first and then maybe try.
Yeah.
I think like it's important like to write, to keep writing, and maybe you don't have to publish everything. You
Hmm.
can write some things that are like not for publishing, just
Hmm.
for practice or something like that. And
I
that's what I'm trying to do right now, because
okay.
I decided,
Yes.
okay, I'm gonna write something,
Mhm.
but this will not be specifically for publishing. This will be just so I
Mhm.
can actually like get a little bit more practiced in the act of writing and
Oh,
like
that's
doing
true.
something,
A
doing
lot of
something,
writers do that.
finishing up to something to the end, not just starting stuff and just getting disappointed by my lack of skill and stuff like that.
That's how I wrote this novel, remember, Fiend, and
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
why I had to
yeah.
write the second novel because the first one was, yeah.
And
But
yeah, you're gonna have to
more
do a
about
lot
it in
of
the
a lot of
future.
editing for that. Okay, I
A
think
lot.
I think that's all the question that I had. Did you have anything else to say or?
I I wanted to add one more thing
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to this, whether the style and everything, practice of writing.
Uh-huh.
I know that one of my inspirations is Isaac Asimov, who is definitely the father
Of
of
course.
all sci-fi and yours too. And I'm going to say something that a lot of people may not agree with me, but um, uh, I, I I like, for example, let's take the Foundation series, which is by
There
far
it is.
one of the most amazing series ever. I don't necessarily like the style of writing, but I like the ideas. The ideas are the best.
I think I agree with you. I think Isaac Asimov wasn't probably the greatest of
Exactly.
writers
But
as
his
a writer.
ideas are
Yeah.
definitely, I mean, and that's what I'm trying to say. So at the beginning, when he started writing, like you and I are writing short stories, he published them in, I don't know, mm, journals or something, wherever
Mm-hmm.
he published them, and
Yeah,
that's cool. So he had
magazines,
magazines and
amazing
everything,
stories, those types of things. I guess.
and
Yeah.
that was pretty good. So
Mm-hmm.
he had those amazing ideas, and I love them. I love all of them. Okay, and they
Mm-hmm.
are so widespread, and not only his. I like Philip K. Dick. I like so
Of
many
course. I
recently.
actually,
That's
now that you mentioned Philip K.
yeah,
Dick, I
yeah,
I see a lot of Philip K. Dick influence in your stories.
yeah. That's true. That's
I
true.
think
And
like probably your style would be the closest to Philip K. Dick that I've seen.
yeah, I think I
Mm-hmm.
even put that in the introduction.
Really? Okay, okay, yes, yes. Because
I'm joking. I'm joking.
as I was reading, I can see
Mm.
similarities. Maybe not in the style of writing, although maybe a little bit in that too. But
The
thematically,
ideas. Yeah. Oh yes.
when it comes to ideas, when it comes to topics being
Yeah.
discussed and stuff like that.
And spoiler alert, I'm actually listening to Philip K. Dick's novel right now. It's the Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch. But yeah,
Hmm.
I'm actually rereading that one. But never mind. What I tried to say about Asimov is that at the beginning, he had those amazing ideas and his stories got through and his novels and everything. And in the end, I'm not saying in the end, but by the end of his life, his style improved and his
Hmm.
ideas were still good, but the improvement in style, I mean, I really love reading those later
Hmm.
Foundation novels. I
Hmm.
really enjoyed them. And I suggest you read them too as well.
I actually
They were amazing.
haven't read the last couple of Foundation novels yet.
I love them.
I
The
don't know
style,
why.
and I think
I
he was
never.
helped
Mhm.
by, I'm not sure who it was. Someone helped him write those. When it
Robert
comes to
Silverberg tended
raw,
to help
yes,
him a lot, and Robert
and
Silverberg is uh,
he's amazing
pretty
as
good
well.
author. Yeah, although
Yeah.
like a lot of his books. Oh my god, the sexism was crazy in his books.
Oh,
Like
I don't.
I read The Man in the Maze, a really good book,
Uh,
but dude, the sexism there is
yeah,
really jarring for modern readers.
no,
Yeah,
no one is perfect. I'm trying to say,
yeah,
but the
yeah,
way
yeah.
he
Yeah.
improved those novels, and
Hmm.
the poor little boy that we mentioned earlier, I think
Uh
he
huh.
also helped improve it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
just
yeah.
that's
Nightfall as
fascinating.
well. He helped him with that
Yes,
too.
and all of these ideas, they evolve over time as long as you continue working on them. And I wish I could find my own David Silverberg in the future. I don't need it now, but let's say in 10, 15 years, I will definitely need one. So yeah,
I think by that time you might already not need extra help
yeah.
because like your style has improved a lot uh, from the books that I've read, from the stuff that I read that you've written earlier, unpublished yet. and to this story collection, which is really, really well written and really,
A lot of people tell me that, and at first I wasn't
Mhm.
sure. I wasn't exactly sure because I feel like, hey, I'm writing, it's the same thing I do, I always do. But a couple of weeks back, I wanted to read generally the first novel that I
Mhm.
wanted to write.
Mhm.
Oh my God, it's terrible.
I know, yeah. That's
So
why
I'm
that's
not
why I'm
saying
not
it's bad, it's just
publishing
like it's
yet.
terrible.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I really need to improve my style and my writing
But
before I
oh, okay, I'm
publish.
just saying, from my side,
Mhm.
I like your style.
Thank you.
Everything is clear. Mine
Mhm.
is chaotic. Mine is Philip K. Dick. You are
Uh,
Asimov. Okay, just
this
in the
is
style
like
of.
the thing is the reason why these stories work,
Mm,
in my opinion, is they are very focused. Very, you know what you're talking about. You are
mm,
sticking to the subject, and
mm,
in the novels that I've read, because I've read uh,
mm,
your unpublished novels,
mm.
tend to be a little bit scatterbrained. Yeah.
Oh, they are. They are. That's true. And that's what I like. Once again, in a short story, you have this idea, and I do a lot of research. I mean, not a
Hmm.
lot, but I do a research. I'm not going to start talking about, let's say, a virus or whatever without actually knowing how viruses work or something like that.
Hmm.
I do a lot of research. I mean, a lot, some research, and
Hmm.
I just really want to grasp the basic scientific concept, which is good. Today, it's so easy to do that. We have the internet and everything, and I know we shouldn't trust everything we read on the internet, but which sites are good to read and which
I mean,
ones are
yeah,
not.
but
Yeah,
yes, you still have much better access than we once
yeah,
used to have
exactly. So we
to
don't need to
information.
go to the libraries, and that's another tool that you can use if you like. I like science. I'm not just a
Hmm.
science fiction fan. I like science, and all of these stories are, let's say, 99% scientific,
Hmm.
science proof. Does that make sense, or did I make up a new word? Um, are
Yeah,
correct.
I don't think so.
I don't do, but yeah. Anyway,
But
they
based on scientific
based on science, yeah. So
concepts, let's say.
yeah.
Although
So,
some are not, like some are really based and steeped in science.
far-fetched.
A few
Mm,
of them are much more connected to like either personal or
mm,
societal or other issues. So you don't have like a uniform, like, oh, okay, we're sticking to hard science fiction,
yeah,
or we're sticking to maybe more of the style of Philip K. Dick,
yeah.
or
Once again, psychological,
psychological or something like that.
interpersonal,
You tend
yeah.
to do everything
Yeah,
in this series, at least
that's
in
true.
this
I
collection.
do, I do indeed, and I use this science as the foundation of a story that I want to tell, which is I like. And I'm not saying I don't like fantasy. Don't get me wrong, I
Hmm.
really do, and
Hmm.
one of my favorites are definitely fantasy novels.
Hmm.
But for me, I just feel if I want to write about something, I feel like I can try and understand the world that is, why. I mean, I'm not saying that magic couldn't exist in this universe. I'm just saying that it would have to be scientifically explained or
Yeah,
something, but it
yeah.
doesn't. It doesn't. Okay, so it's just definitely hardcore sci-fi or hard sci-fi. Never
No,
mind.
no, I wouldn't say
Whatever you
it's
call it.
hard
Yeah,
sci-fi, because like
yeah, because
some
it
of the
talks
things
about
that,
ideas from
yeah,
soft
yeah,
sci-fi.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely, it's like
But a
society and
few of
everything.
them could be classified as hard
Mm,
sci-fi. A few of them could be
true.
classified more as a social, or how do you call that? Like George Orwell type of
Oh
sci-fi, or yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
That's yeah.
I think we are like almost at an hour, so
No,
I
I'm joking.
think we
Okay.
should probably finish here, not to make this interview too long.
Mm,
So yeah, thank you for coming onto my channel, and like giving me my first interview for my channel. And all of you guys, if you want to check out Peter's website, we'll have it in the description below. If you want to check out his book, his short story collection, definitely that will be probably the first link that you can see in the description. So check it out, see if you're interested, and either get one of the stories or get the whole collection. I don't think you will be disappointed.
mm,
So yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
That's it, Becky. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And you guys, bookworms, have a great day, and we'll see you on the next video.
Yeah. Everyone, stay safe. Thank
Stay
you.
safe. Bye.